Dormitory dilemma. That's what I found myself in. I was just coming from the state prison at open charge in St. Tammany Parish. I get to St. Tammany Parish. I get tossed in the dormitory. I'm surprised. I'm in a dormitory where for every one black dude, there's like 3 white dudes. That's very uncommon. Very, very, very uncommon in Louisiana. Anyway, there I was in a dormitory at the end of my prison sentence, on a hold in St. Tammany Parish. And I'm looking around like, cool, this is going to be Joseph easy time right here. Man, they got a hold. This the realest wood pile I ever been into, man. They got so many white dudes, I'm nervous. I go to my rack, I'm chilling, I'm looking around like, yeah, man, I ought to be able to sit back until my people can bond me out or till the court dismisses these old weak Mickey Mouse charges they got that I shouldn't have no problem at all. Man, let me get some money on my books and see if I can make canteen. I lay back on the rack, head on my pillow, feet kicked up. I look around, see if I knew anybody. I don't really recognize nobody, so I'm chilling. It's only a matter of time before I see somebody I know, you heard me? And all of a sudden, this dude standing in front of on side of my bed, and he's looking at me, cheesed up. Black dude. Big old grin. Staring right in my face, and I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. And now I'm kind of chuckling, smiling. I'm thinking, oh, man, I'm in a dorm full of white people, and I got one of the only black people in the dorm cheesing up at me. Man, I know at this point, I'm not a fresh fish no more. I'm a convict. I'm at the end of my first prison sentence. So I'm like, man, I'm about to bang this dude up. And he's like, what's up, man? And I'm like, what's up, bro? He's like, it's me. I'm like, who? He said, me. I'm like, yeah? He's like, yeah, man. It's Reggie. I'm like, Reggie? He's like, yeah, Reggie, man. He said, how's your brother doing? I said, how you know my brother? He said, man, remember y'all the Marrero boys? That's where me and my brother grew up, was in Marrero. And then we moved over to the North Shore, which is Mandeville. This is where I got a hold at. And he's like, yeah, man, you know so-and-so. And he starts mentioning a couple other dudes I know. In Mandeville, it's a whole lot of white folks. St. Tammany Parish is full of white folks, right? They got black folks, but it's mostly white folks. Anyway, they got certain little areas where the black folks stay at. Well, anyway, so we get over there. Me, my brother, my cousins, you know what I mean? A couple other people we know, we cool with the black dudes. We chilling with them. We go back there in the neighborhood with them, hang out with them, chop it up, crash at some of the houses, people we know. And so he was one of the young dudes who was brothers with one of the dudes, or cousins with one of the dudes that we hung out with. And he remembered us from school. And he got in a bunch of fist fights side by side with us. And he's like, yeah, Reggie. I'm like, yeah, Reggie, what's up? And so we talking and everything, chopping up, laughing, having old school memories. And all of a sudden, he says, you down with them white boys? And I'm like, what you mean? He's like, I think there's about to be a fight. I said, a fight? He said, yeah. He said, I'm so glad you just walked into the dorm. He said, because now I got somebody I know who I know ain't scared. It's going to help me fight. And I'm like, I'm going to help you fight? He's like, yeah, man, these dudes, man, all them white boys, they want to jump me. I said, they want to jump you. Just about that time, about 4 or 5 white dudes, full of tats, shirt off, swole up, come walking up to the bunk. They're like, what's happening, man? What's up, dude? I'm like, what's up, man? Y'all just like Reggie. I know y'all too. So right about the time that the white dudes are asking me, what's up? What's up? They say, what's up, Wood? You know what I mean? They using, West Coast political slang. And they got all the regular tattoos. The one who I assumed to be the leader, he was the shortest one in the group, but he was the most stocky. He had a big swastika tattoo on his chest, you know what I mean? I'm down, cool, whatever. I'm cool with the white dudes up the road. That's who I roll with. I'm white, you know what I mean? I know how it goes, but of course this is Louisiana and race politics don't play out the same way. But, whites still stick out for whites. And so Reggie jumps off and Reggie throws his hands up. He's like, y'all ready to do this? And the dudes are like, let's look. And they went to go on him. And I'm like, whoa, whoa. And Reggie's like, come on, man, let's get it. And they used to call me, they used to call me G. Let's just say that, G. G, my name's Greg. So Reggie's like, you ready, G? And he says, he goes off. And then I hear another dude calling. They got about 3 or 4 other black dudes over there huddled in the corner. Like, say Reggie, say Reggie. Reggie's like, hey, this is my boy G right here. He's going to be with us. And then Reggie goes over there to the black dudes. And I'm standing there. You know what I mean? And right in front of my grill is the white dude who got the swastika tattooed on his chest. And he's like, what's up with you, man? I said, good. He said, you know that dude? You know, of course, he didn't use the word dude. And I'm like, yeah, I know. He's like, you gonna roll with us? I said, I don't even know what's going on. He's like, I didn't ask you that. You gonna roll with the whites or not? And so me and him start talking. He's like, where you just came up the road from? And I had come from Allen. I said, I just came from Allen. He's like, yeah, we talking for a minute. He's like, you know, so-and-so, you know, people from that area that you know, St. Tammany Parish. And I'm like, yeah, I know so-and-so. We chop it up, we talking. And I'm like, what's going on with you and Reggie? And he's like, oh, you know, that dude right there, he just got problems with me because he don't like white people with white power tattoos. I said, yeah. He's like, but you know how it is. I'm like, yeah, I know how it is. You know what I mean? I'm like, look, man, but I really don't. I said, man, I'm at the end of my sentence. I'm about to get out of here, man. I'm about to get out, man. I just came up the road. You know what I mean? You obviously headed on your way up the road. I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on. He's like, what's going down? He said, you're going to have to pick a side to roll with. And I'm like, man, look, I just got in this dorm 10 minutes ago and I'm tossed into a race riot already. And so he walks away and Reggie comes back up. He's like, what's up, G? He said, you know that dude? And I'm like, I said, I don't know him. I just met him. He cool and everything. He said, man, he said, you seen that tattoo he got, huh? I said, yeah. He said, well, that's why I went off on him. I said, so you went off on him, Reggie? He said, yeah. He said, I asked him what that tattoo means. And he started telling me some this, that, and the other. I'm like, that don't mean that. That's a racist tattoo. And so the other black dudes, they see him arguing with the white dude with the swastika, and Reggie, which he's a little younger than all the rest of them, they come up like, what's up, Reggie? Reggie's like, man, y'all see that tattoo? And so they telling Reggie, oh, man, don't worry about the white boy. Don't worry about him, this, that, and the other. And the white dude's like, what y'all want to do? Anyway, this been escalating for days. That's right, days. They in the dormitory sleeping together and nothing kicked off. And all of a sudden I'm in here and Reggie's cool with me and he thinks I'm going to roll with him. And the white dudes see me and they think I'm going to roll with them. So now I'm politicking. So I tell Reggie, I said, Reggie, is it really necessary to fight? I said, man, you're in prison now. You're going to go up the road. You know what I mean? You're on your way up there. They got all kind of white people with tattoos like that. I said, man, that's just the way it is. They got black people with racist tattoos too. He's like, I know. He said, but you ain't like them white boys. He said, they got some other white dudes in here who are cool. He said, but they scary. They're not going to pick a side either way. They just going to stay out of it. I'm like, well, I'm going to stay out of it too, Reggie. He's like, oh, man. I said, man, I really don't want nothing to do with it. He's like, oh, man, you got to roll with us, man. You fought with my cousins, man. Y'all were cool. I said, I'm still cool with you, Reggie. I said, man, but this ain't a fight that I'm trying to get involved in. And I really didn't want to be involved in this because I really liked Reggie and I really did fight side by side with him when I was a kid. And so I'm not going to fight against him now for no reason, for some beef I don't even have. And like I said, this is Louisiana prison. The same stuff that goes on the West Coast don't apply here. So I'm not going to be looked at any different from other certain white dudes and no black dudes. It's just going to be the way it is. Like I said, it's a lone wolf state. You do your time on your own 2 feet. And you use your own 2 hands. And sometimes things like this kick off where you have to pick a side. But I didn't have to pick nothing. You know what I mean? I'm in a parish jail and in a dormitory with pretrial inmates. And a lot of these dudes are probably going to get out. Some of them are heading up the road. You know, it's a mixture of this, that, and the other. And so I'm just like, man, how did I get involved in a racial altercation when I'm just trying to get out? Anyway, Reggie and the dude, they start talking and everything, and they still seeing disagreement. They ain't walking away shaking hands. They not walking away happy, singing Kumbaya. The same disagreement is still the same disagreement. Now I'm just a new player on the scene, and they both trying to figure out who I'm going to roll with because obviously they think that my one person is going to make the difference. Like I said, Reggie got about 4 or 5 other black dudes, and not every white dude that was in the dorm was going to roll with this group of white dudes. There was roughly about the same amount of them as there was the black dudes, maybe 2 or 3 more, because most of the people that was in the dorm was just neutral. They didn't have nothing to do with nothing. But the white dude, he had about 7 or 8 dudes that were going to roll with him, and they knew something was going to kick off. And so I'm like, if they jump Reggie, do I pull the dudes off of Reggie? You know what I mean? And now, see, I know one thing that's not happening because I can tell. You can peep game. You can discern. I know that Reggie's people ain't really looking to get into it with the white dudes. Now, here's the crazy thing. If this would have been reversed, it probably would have went off already. You know, so the white dudes are showing a lot of composure, and I'm gonna give them respect for that, because the black dudes would have probably just jumped on the white dudes and jumped them anyway, and they would have jumped the white dudes. Not necessarily, because I've been in a dorm too, where it was gonna be a race fight, and we were outnumbered probably about 8-1 or 9-1, close to 10-1, and I was like, man, we done if it goes off. But the black dudes restrained themselves, and it didn't go off, and you know, you got to roll with who you got to roll with, too. You really ain't got no choice in the matter when it kicks off like that, when it's racial. So I'm in this dorm, man. Eventually, nothing happens, man. About 3 or 4 days later, I get bonded out, and I'm leaving. When I leave, Reggie's still in there, and the white dude with the swastika still in there. I don't ever know what happened to him. Never saw Reggie again. Never saw the dude with the swastika again. And it was after that, I got out for a little while, stayed on the street, and went back to prison for 6 more years. And you know, I never ran into either one of them dudes. Ran into other situations. But that's my experience with being tossed into a dormitory, and 10 minutes later, I'm almost in the middle of a race fight that I had nothing to do with, other than the fact that I was white and that I was also knew Reggie from the street. Man, this is the Pen and the Shank, the most unusual and unique crime and prison channel experience on YouTube. Blah, 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 blah. Like and subscribe.